Well, good. We'll go ahead and get started. I'm Mike Wakehorse with Coldwell Banker, but a lot of you people watching this will know Steve with Hackman Financial and Justin with Ruoff Mortgage. They really helped me kind of spread the word on what's going on with the market and areas where we can expect certain things to kind of trend a different way and hopefully help my clients and your clients make educated decisions for themselves. We have had a lot going on, and it's good to have both of you. I'll let Steve kind of kick us off. Yesterday, it's today is Thursday, March 3rd or March 23rd. And yesterday we had some announcements, and Steve, I'll kind of let you take it from there on what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're still fighting inflation, but the SVB situation kind of opened eyes to the Federal Reserve as to not act too quickly, because if you act too quickly with interest rates rising and hiking, you put yourself in a position where you put other people, meaning other businesses, at risk. And one of those business industries is the banking industry. A lot of people don't realize that when you get interest rates from a bank, everybody's thinking, well, banks are just here for my own good. They're just going to give me interest rates. No, that's not really why they're there. They're there to make money just like any other business is. And so they take the money you give them, just like an insurance company, they invest it in different ways. And one of the ways they invest it is in bonds. And so they're subject to inflation and interest rate sensitivity, interest rate risk. So when interest rates go up too quickly, which we haven't seen this type of rate hike in a long time, to where it does impact their business from the spread of the values of the bonds they actually hold. So they need to take a certain amount of value in to be able to pay the interest rates out. And when you have a bond value that's decreasing because interest rates are rising so quickly, their holdings start to be subjected to devaluation. And that devaluation then, kind of like a domino effect, causes people to freak out a little bit because they see the value of the bank, the stock value of the bank, start to go down. And then what's everybody do when they see something go down? They pull money out. So, the SVB situation, very isolated to some degree, to be honest with you. A lot of people's panicking. A lot of media is talking about worries and all this. The banking system is fine. It's protected. FDIC insured, the whole 9 yards. So I think a lot of people are overreacting a little bit, thinking that my bank's going to fail now. No, that's not the case necessarily. Certainly, they're subject to risk, just like any other investment vehicle you have. But the reality of them, this being this huge 2008 fallout where everybody's going to start to fail and market's going to go crazy and the economy's going to start to tank, that's just not the case right now. So having said all that, yesterday the Feds came out. There was an anticipation for a 50 basis points raise for a long time. I think in Justin's world, in your world, Mike, and in my world, we all saw 50 basis points. And then all of a sudden SVB comes out and the announcement of that failure of that bank, it really caused Chairman Powell to have some pause. And that pause says, well, maybe not 50 basis points. But on the backdrop is something you and I started talking about over a year and a half ago, that Mike, is the inflation aspect of this. So inflation is still there. It's not gone away. It's not where it's target. The target has always been 2 to 3%. So the Feds still have to address inflation. And we all know they have to address inflation. Just go buy a carton of eggs. Just go get some gas. I mean, you
Right.
automatically know that we have to address inflation because it all devalues the dollar. So from that perspective, it's a delicate balance now that the Feds are trying to figure out where the right place is to be. But the good news is we will get inflation over time. But maybe we need to move a little slower. Maybe we don't need to raise rates so quickly. We've made some aggressive attacks on interest rates already. So that helps the economy overall. That helps us as consumers. That helps us as business people to recognize that the rates will continue to rise, but not rise to the extent that they had anticipated or had been doing for a long time. So long and the short of it, catching us up, basically the Feds took a pause, didn't do the 50 basis points, did the 25 basis points. I don't think we're done raising interest rates necessarily. It will depend completely on inflation reports and inflation numbers, and then job reports, and then the delicate balance of recession. So all those things go into this picture that the Fed has to handle and manage. The other part that's on this backdrop is we talk about the government spending. You can't get inflation under control unless you control government spending. You can't have high government spending and inflation low. That just doesn't work. So from that perspective, we have to keep that in mind, that the budget is also another backdrop that's going on, the government budget to deal with. So a lot of stuff going on.
There is a lot of stuff going on, and I think that's a good. I mean, for a dummy like me, that was a good way to break it down and help me understand a little bit better. Taking what Steve just said, though, Justin, how is that impacting our industry?
So as far as mortgage rates, about an hour after Powell spoke yesterday, we saw a pretty significant drop in mortgage rates. Significant being like maybe an 1/8% in actual rate, which is to me is significant, right? And I think you're seeing a lot of that is because investors are kind of making bets that, okay, this is probably going to be it, at least for now. Like Steve said, I mean, I think at some point, once the waters calm a little bit, that they'll probably get back to fighting inflation with additional interest rate, hikes. But pretty positive on the mortgage front. And I think it's because you're seeing a lot of investors start to make bets that, at least the hikes are done for now. And even this morning, as I'm kind of talking, I've gotten a couple emails about rates are getting a little better again today. So I think we're definitely, as far as mortgage rates, going to see a plateau here, probably until the next time he speaks. We're definitely going to see a plateau. If we can even break some of the walls in the MBS that we've kind of seen as far as pricing goes, we might even see them get a little bit better than they are now. But as far as the high movements upwards, I don't see that for the time being. So
yeah. Now, if you're a current buyer right now and you are one of those people that's trying to time it perfectly, I mean, are you really letting these changes sway you one way or another?
To me, if you're a renter, it doesn't make any sense, right? So, and again, like what Steve said with the whole banking thing, people are thinking, this is 2008 all over again. Well, it's the same thing with the housing market. Everybody's waiting for this magical 30% drop in prices, and it's not going to happen, And the biggest thing is, as Mike, that in our industry, that there's a huge housing, deficit, right? Like we don't have nearly enough homes for the people that either want to buy or heck even rent. So in 2008, we had a gigantic surplus, which on top of many other things, as far as bad mortgages, things like that. And we don't have either one of those right now. The bad mortgages are a thing of the past, obviously with qualifying guidelines and things like that. And then, like I said, we're the deficit in housing is pretty significant. And I keep telling people, I'm like, the moment that the rates get down in the sixes, everybody's going to flood back into the market. So now instead of going up against one or two offers, kind of what we're seeing right now, you're going to be going up against 20 again. So it's like for an interest, say a half a point better in interest rate or even a point better, but you're going $50,000 over the list price. If everybody floods back into the market, it kind of all balances out, right? Like in the end, it kind of all balances out. So timing the market is, it's a fool's errand. And honestly, it's never a game that you're going to completely win, right? Because you're one of many people that are trying to time the market. So that's kind of the conversations I've been having recently with people that may have paused with the interest rates going back up. And then we kind of had that discussion yesterday. It's just like, look, if you like the house, buy it, right? Like, and then you can always refinance later. That's always a possibility. So
I think you bring up a good point. I think a lot of people think every decision they make is so final, and it's really just not. There's nothing in this world that you make a decision on that's final.
So I laugh at this, and I shouldn't, because I get it. I get the emotional attachment in purchasing a home. But do you know how many times Justin and I hear 20-year-olds, maybe even young 30s, oh my gosh, we just bought our forever home, and 3 years later, like you want it to be fun. This is not your forever home. This is so far from your forever home.
I've had 3 forever homes in my life, so if that tells you anything.
It's just life happens, life changes. I mean, we want it to be okay. That's to Steve's point. This is it, and it's just it. Thankfully, in our industry, that doesn't happen very often there, Justin.
No,
Because if everybody found their forever home, we'd be in trouble.
yeah, we'd be in a lot of trouble. Yeah, yeah. And it's funny that when people say that, and I do, I tell them, I'm like, well, you say that now, right? Like until life changes, right? And we're and I'm telling you, like we're a lot of the buyers that we're seeing are relocations and people that are growing families. They may have a 2-bedroom house and they're about to have their second kid, and it's just not going to work, right? So. Those people are still buying relocation. Obviously, they're getting sent here from other areas, and they don't want to rent, which makes a lot of sense to not want to rent. They're still buying too, but it's those people that are maybe the millennials with no kids. Those are the ones that are like on the fence, like I don't want to buy right now because of this or that, or interest rates, prices are too high. And I think of buying a house as kind of a hedge against things getting more expensive, right?
Right.
That house, even if we see a 5% drop, say 4 years from now, well, between now and 4 years, that house is going to go up in price, probably, anywhere between 7 to 14%, right? Depending on what area you're in. So if it goes up 7 to 14%, we only see a 5% drawback, you're still buying that house for more, right?
Right.
4 years from now. So, it's just thinking, getting people to kind of think in a different way, and knowing that, again, trying to time the market or thinking you're going to beat the market out of whatever is just a fool's errand, right? It's not possible. And same with your job, Steve, like timing the market perfectly to where you're going to pull your cash out and then put it all back in at the right moment where, you're going to have these huge gains is just, it's nearly impossible, right? It's not impossible, but it's nearly impossible. So
very, very true. As you're speaking of that, I was automatically thinking the investment markets are the same way. People come into it thinking they can buy at the bottom and sell at the highest point, and they end up missing both ends of it. And then they sit there and they wonder, why didn't I sell before? And just really just capture the gains that you have and be okay with that. It's not I think people don't realize all of this is an art form. It's not really a science. I mean, there is some science that we use, and that's part of our job as yourselves and myself. We have some science that we try to make it, but it still becomes an art form of emotions. And so we have to learn how to manage those things and manage our expectations. So yeah, I agree with you completely. It's just like the investment markets.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I appreciate you both. Steve, thanks for taking time on your sunny Florida trip, my friend. Justin and I will just hang back here in the gray, gloomy world.
Yep.
It's my pleasure. It's always a pleasure visiting with you guys. And obviously, as I was telling Mike, it's nice to be down here, but I also love my routines and my life at home. So it's a good thing.
Yeah,
I hear you.
Justin, any last words?
No, I think I've gotten everything I need to get out. Hopefully we can kind of pass the message along and, I guess maybe hopefully this answers some questions that people have had. There's a lot that's happened in the last 2 weeks. So
no doubt. Well, thank you both. And Steve and Justin, I'll see you both soon.
Yep.
Yes,
see you later. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.